Hey, I know this is a little different from like my usual stuff, and I feel like I should probably make videos like this from time to time where it's just like me talking. I think some things just need to be said and talked about in life, and I feel like another use for my platform should be talking about things that, maybe not a lot of people like to talk about. And I feel like it could possibly help some people, and especially with helping people know, like, you're not alone when it comes to certain topics and like certain things in life. Like, we all deal with stuff. But this is going to be like the first type of video like this talking about like a certain topic. I'll go over other topics and like certain stuff in other videos, but it's going to mainly be mental health related things. So, this first video for this is basically going to be talking about pain and how maybe you can try to deal with it and get through day to day, because sometimes life sucks and things get tough and rough, and you know I feel like this is my way of like getting my emotions out, because I don't know, I'm not really like the type to talk to people. I don't know, I've always just had like that feeling in the back of my mind talking about that type of thing and or those types of topics. And like, I don't know, I have that feeling in the back of my head that like there's just something that like bites at me and tells me like this is corny or it's cringe, to talk about those types of things. I know, even though I shouldn't feel that way, but you know, your mind your mind plays tricks on you. So that's just how things go, man. But um I think we're going to talk about like how to deal with just like life in general, and like how to deal with everyday pain. And I'm not talking about like physical, I'm talking about mental, because, going day to day is rough. And I know it's not rough for just me. It's probably that way for the majority of people. Um, going to a job you don't want to go to and do a bunch of things that you don't want to do, but you don't really have a choice because you're an adult, and it sucks, but we get through it. Um I more or less want to get on the topic and say, like, if you're going through anything, I understand, because I struggle, especially in my day-to-day life. Like, I remember when I first started the job that I'm currently at, I was excited. It was a new opportunity, and it was the most money I ever made working at a job. And at first you're like excited and you're like, damn, you're like, I'm making way much more money than I was making before. Which, by the way, it's not a lot, but still, you're making all this much more money and blah 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 at first, and then like after just a couple years, I don't know if it's just me, but like after a couple years, I'm just like, man, I'm so fucking sick of this shit. Like, is that just me, or just like I've always been like that at jobs that I've worked. I I'll work it for like a couple years, but then after that I'm like, man, I fucking hate this place, and like I hate seeing the same place every single fucking day. And I'm like, I need a change. But the only thing is that I know I'm not going to find anything better that's going to be paying around the same amount. And, you know, that's kind of like a major conflict. And it's not that I hate, like, it's not like my job is hard. My job is pretty fucking easy, to be honest. But it's not about the fact that, like, it's easy or whatever, or the difficulty. It's about the fact that, like, you just, or I personally just get sick of going to the same fucking place over and over and over again. Like, my brain just has like a mental thing going on where if I'm going to the same place or doing the same shit for more than like a couple years, like, I have to have some type of change. Like, I have to do something. And like, I just get caught up in like that same feeling every single day. I'm like, man, I hate this shit. And it's sad because, like I said earlier, like, I enjoyed going there at first. Like, it was nice. But, you know, sometimes things at a job change. You get new management, or just like maybe you don't like your coworkers. I mean, my coworkers aren't terrible, but like, you know, I have a couple things I could say, but I'm not gonna speak on that. But my favorite supervisor left not that long ago, and that tremendously changed the entire vibe. And we also got a new plant manager like a year and a half ago, and that also changed the vibe a lot. So, you know, when a lot of things change at a job, it really changes the whole vibe, and it just screws it up, honestly. But, you know, but anyway, enough about me. I wanted to get more on the topic of pain and dealing with it, because I understand how it can be. You know, you might have had some things happen to you and you might be like lost, and I can understand that feeling because I have a lot of these moments where I go in and out of like being motivated and disciplined and wanting to do certain things, and then I have all these other moments where I'm just like, what the fuck was I thinking, and like, what did I really think this was ever gonna work? And like, I struggle with a lot of self-doubt, and I know a lot of people struggle with that shit too. So I get it if that's something you deal with, because that's me on literally a daily basis. But like, there's so many things like I've tried starting, but then I never finish it because I'm just like, why the fuck am I doing this? And then I end up getting a bunch of self-doubt, and it just ruins my perspective on the entire thing I was doing. And it sucks because I want to be disciplined and do a lot of these things, but when your brain just nags at you and tells you all this bullshit, you know, it's hard to see the positive in those things, is basically what I'm trying to say. So, but, you know, those are just things like we all deal with, or I don't know if we all deal with it, but it's something I personally deal with. And, you know, that can also cause a lot of mental pain, or just things that happen in your life. Me personally, 2025 was probably one of the worst and best years of my life. It was probably like way off of whack. Like, it was just entirely fucked. Like, it was good in some ways, and then it was horrible in other ways. I'll basically just say that. But I went through a lot of shit, especially in 2025 and the end of 2024, to be particular, or to be specific. But yeah, 2025 was a rough year for me. But it was also a good year, because 2025 was a year that I actually got closer to God and being better and trying to see more positive in life and be more optimistic. And so, that's a plus. But it was also shit because, one of the worst things, especially when it comes to like stuff with pain and everything, is heartbreak. So, we get in relationships and, sometimes they just don't work. And that shit is some of the worst shit to happen and like ever, like I swear. And it sucks too because you can't even do anything about it. It's just like like one moment somebody for years and then the next moment they're just gone and there's nothing you can do about that. And it's basically like grieving, like somebody died but like they're still alive, and that shit sucks. Like it's the same type of thing. Like you go from talking to this person every single day for all this time and then next thing you know, like nothing. It's just completely done. And y'all have to act like you're strangers, and yeah. So I struggle with that a lot. Even now, like I still have times where, I think about it, obviously. Like I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But I think about that shit a lot and think about like what I could have done differently, but like I need to move on from that. I understand that. And I mostly have, but you get moments cuz that's just life. But yeah, I was dealing with that hard in 2025. But the good was I got closer to God. If you're going through a lot of things, maybe look into having God in your life. I know not everybody is religious, and I'm not gonna like push religion down anybody's throat. It's your choice. But for me personally, something that really helped me get through a lot of 2025 was being close with God and hope. Hope is a number one thing that you need to find. And I know for some that's going to be hard, especially if you're how I used to be, and that's hopeless. Like I know how it feels to be completely hopeless and feel like nothing's ever gonna change, and you feel empty, and finding that hope is really difficult. But for me personally, that's the number one thing that really gave me a sense of hope for once, because I never thought I would ever see any type of hope or optimism, and I just thought everything was always just gonna be terrible, and I was a complete pessimist. I was completely pessimistic about everything and just thought everything was terrible. And I would bring all that negative energy onto others, and that's not fun to deal with. But, when you're going through a lot of things, though, you just want to speak out loud. Like, sometimes the thoughts, like, overcrowd your mind, and you just want to expel it. Like I get it, and that's basically what I'm doing right now, because I feel like this is something that would benefit me, but not just me. It would also help other people to understand and know like you're not alone with whatever you're going through. That's basically my goal here too. Like I have two goals: one, to help like talk about things, but also two, to help people not feel alone and feel like somebody can relate to their feelings, because I remember feeling like nobody related to how I felt. So when I started actually seeing like, you know, a lot of people do understand what I'm going through, like it really did make an impact. So hopefully this can help somebody. But to get back on the topic of 2025, the end of 2024 was a bad one for me too. And I know a lot of people have probably gone through this and have experienced it, and honestly it's pretty traumatic. Like, it's really traumatic. Honestly, I still think about it even like now. But at the end of 2024, I was considering taking my own life, and that was like a serious thing that like I was really considering, because I was just at my breaking point, because you can only take so much until everything just becomes too much. So that was a hard thing to deal with, and obviously I didn't do it. I'm still here, but I still have trauma about that night, because, you know, like that's something you don't forget. Like, you live with that. Like, when you're on the verge of doing something that like big, yeah, it's pretty traumatic. I still think about it daily, honestly, but I also use that as something that I could learn from. And to anybody that is at that point, like, please seek help, please, because coming from me, I can tell you one thing right now. I can tell you right now that your friends and loved ones would rather talk to you and listen to what you have to say, even at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and lose some sleep, rather than wake up to hearing that you're not alive. So please, if you're dealing with any of that, get help, please, for everybody's sake. And if you are dealing with that also, just know that I want you to know that it gets better. I promise it does. Coming from somebody that has been through hell and has came back from that, it gets better. I mean that. So don't lose hope. Try to find that something that gives you that little bit of hope. Try to find something, whatever it is. Try it, or do something. That thing that you've always wanted to do that everybody told you not to do, just try it. Just do something. That's kind of how I felt with these videos. This is kind of like my outlet, I feel like. I used to do music, but I don't know. I don't think music is really my thing anymore. I think I enjoy making videos for people, because I feel like I like to entertain people, and I like to make people laugh. And that's kind of like the goal with what I do. Like, I try to make people have a better day and get a laugh out. And I also want to make these types of videos where, you know, I can help people feel like they're not alone, and like help people feel heard, if you know what I mean. So I have multiple goals with these, and this definitely will not be the first one of these. I like to rant and like talk about things a lot, and I hope you're willing to chill and listen. Like, this isn't even a video you can like watch, you know. I got gameplay and stuff, but just more or less you only have to listen, or not. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm not just doing this just for myself. I'm doing this to help people that are willing to listen too. So, but no matter what you're dealing with, I do promise it gets better, and it won't be terrible forever. And that's coming from somebody that's been depressed most of his life, probably since I was like even like a little child. I'm 25 right now, and it was so long of my life that I was depressed and unhappy that like it just became like second nature to me. It just became like an everyday thing to me. Like it became normal to be like depressed and quiet, and yeah, that's not really an okay thing. And by not really, it's not like it's not an okay thing. Nobody should have to deal with that type of thing, especially children. Like I was dealing with that since I was a child. I went through a lot of things growing up, especially being in a broken home. Um, you're just chilling with your parents one day, and then randomly your dad leaves and he doesn't come back. And that was a lot to deal with as a kid, and I might have not understood it back then, but I eventually did, and it sucked. But we learn to just live and get through it. I've also learned to forgive. I've forgiven people that the old me definitely would not have forgiven. And I do it for God, because I know that's what he wants from me. He wants me to do better. And I would like to use this platform also to spread more stuff with God too, if people are cool with that, because I feel like God is a huge part of my life. I mean, like I said earlier, I'm not going to try to push religion down your throat. It's your choice at the end of the day. If you want to follow whatever, it's your choice. But I would like to use this also to spread the gospel and help people get into like more of a mindset that maybe if you don't really have anything that you might have to give you hope or whatever, maybe look into following God and surrendering your bad thoughts and feelings to him and see how it goes. It wouldn't hurt to give it a try. I was agnostic for most of my life, and I wasn't ever really sure if that was something I was going to like fully believe in, but I remember when I fully did, and it really, really, really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I think it might do it for you too. But, that's just me. I have my favorite verse here actually. And I remember how much this verse made an impact on me when I first heard it. But like I said, I want to use this to spread the gospel a little bit. So let's use it to spread some verses. My favorite verse is James 1:12. It promises blessing and reward, specifically the crown of life, to those who persevere under trials and temptations, because their steadfast faith proves genuine, a promise from God to those who love him. And I take that as like, you will get what you need, and you will be good if you're able to persevere under trials and your temptations, obviously, like it said. And that really made an impact on me, because like, especially when I first found God, it made me feel like all the pain was worth it. And whether it hurts now or whatever, that pain that you go through is something that shapes you into who you're supposed to be. And you know, everything happens for a reason, and I'll always believe that, no matter what it is. Everything that you go through always happens for a reason. And I believe that the strongest warriors are people that go through a lot of hardship and mental torment. You're put through that because God knows you can handle it. And I'll always believe that, because he wouldn't put you through something that he knew that you couldn't handle. And it's supposed to shape you, because your story is not over yet. You're still getting put together. Like, he's still putting the pages together. So no matter how old or young you are, like, just give it some time. Just try to have some patience, because I promise you, like, I was patient for a long time, and you know, the patience finally did pay off, because I remember when I used to just want to die and I didn't want to do anything anymore. But after I went through that whole thing, I finally learned to want to live again. And that was truly one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that. So I'm just saying, try to have some patience and take your time, and don't be afraid to, like, give yourself breaks. Like, I understand, like, some of us want to work and, like, do this and do that, and we have dreams and strive to do things, but don't let that fog your brain completely, because you're gonna burn yourself out. Don't burn yourself out. Take some time to breathe and, like, relax a little bit, because otherwise you're gonna lose that passion and you're gonna lose that drive, and maybe that was the last thing that you had. So please give yourself a break every now and then. Like, everybody deserves a break, no matter who you are. If you're going through a lot of things, everybody deserves some type of break. So don't go too hard on yourself. We all go through, like, the roller coaster, and you know, things get hard, but I promise you're gonna get through them. Remember to keep having hope, and remember that it'll all be worth it.